Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to another video. For tonight's episode, I do a little wideband walkthrough, the setup I used on the Z06 here. So in case you're interested in putting a wideband in your car for tuning purposes or just to monitor it when you're out ripping the car, and also integrating it to data log with your HP tuners if you have the new MPVI2 unit. I'm going to show you the setup I use to get that to integrate so you can data log with it, record back, and review your logs. So let's go check it out. So we'll just pull the car cover off here quick. This is just a cheapo $50 Amazon cover I got. Basically, I just wanted something for the garage here, so when we're doing work, if there's any kind of dust or grinding going on, anything like that, it's really just here for dust cover. This isn't an outdoor cover or anything like that. It's just to keep the car covered and protected here in the garage. So it's 50 bucks off Amazon. I think it's pretty good. It's really thin. It's kind of like a nylon sweatpant material, almost like. But for the price, this is really all I wanted. I didn't want some fancy $200 car cover that's triple ply and breathable and leave it outside and all that stuff. So I think for this purpose, and it fits really well too, covers the sides, hooks under. So in case you're interested in something like that, just for a dust cover for the garage, this is a pretty good option for the C6 Corvette. Alright, so we'll have a seat here in the car. Hopefully it's not too dark. You can kind of see. I guess I could grab a light too. So basically I did the gauge pod over here on the side. So basically, like, this would be your view if you're driving the car, and it's just kind of off to the side. It's pretty easy to monitor. I didn't really want to do the one on the pillar over here because then it kind of blocked the instrument gauges here and you had to like look down through the steering wheel. So this kind of catches your eye a little better. It's a pretty clean mount. This is an AEM wideband I got, and the part number for this one is the 30-0334. So that's the this is the one you want, that has the OBD CAN integration. So this works with the MPVI2 unit, and I'll show you that here in a second. Let me turn the flash on. Alright, so now that we got the light on here, let's go down and check this out. So you'll see here too, this is the OBD2 port on the car. It's just tucked under the pedals here, and you'll notice that there's kind of a, I guess you could call it a piggyback. But basically this connector here is from the wideband, so it basically plugs into your OBD2 port. I'm gonna put that back in, and then you're able to plug in your MPVI2 unit right into that. So it's just like a piggyback, and then that will allow the integration into your data log so you can watch your wideband. So it basically just repeats what this says into your data log for HP tuners. So then when you do a poll or whatever, if you're data logging, you can go back and review it instead of having to like look at the gauge and try and remember, oh, was I rich or lean when I was at 4,000, 5,000 RPM or whatever. So this is pretty much the only way to do it with the new HP VI2 unit, because it doesn't have that that old school unit that had like the wires you could plug in the side. It doesn't have that, obviously. You can see here, this is all it is. So it's like a micro USB in the back. That just goes to your USB cable for your laptop and just plugs in here. I think they're supposed to come out with some type of Bluetooth, so you don't need the cable. You could go right into your laptop, but I don't think that's available yet. This just came out like May or June, so this is still pretty new. And then let me show you the sensor hookup and where I wired everything in at, so you can have a look at that. So for the cable coming from the O2 sensor, basically I came through where the hood release is. I just pulled this plastic footrest here out and then lifted the insulation back and pulled the grommet through and just put a slit in the grommet to pull the additional cable through, and then just kind of tuck the wiring up here, and then it just goes into that up to the gauge, which attaches here. You have to remove this whole inside piece here, pull this down, and kind of snake the wire up through in here. It's really not too bad to do. Everything just kind of clips out. And then the other lead coming from the gauge is going to be this harness. So this I just tucked it up under here, nice and clean, and this goes into your OBD2 port, so not too bad. All right, so next we're going to check out is power. This is probably the trickiest thing to hook up because that fuse panel under the passenger side footwell, trying to find an ignition source that is only hot when the car is on is a little tricky. A lot of this stuff is hot all the time under there, so it took me a little trial and error before I found the fuse to piggyback off of that had power just when the car was on, because obviously I didn't want that on, draining the battery. So let me go check that out. All right, so for this, pretty simple. The wiring could definitely be cleaned up with a zip tie or something, but basically I use one of the piggyback extensions. So this just is like an add a fuse. Basically allows you to tap power, so you have your original circuit, and then you have your additional circuit here, so it doesn't interrupt the regular circuit, but then it also allows you to add and tap 12 volt power here. So that just goes in this top one. I have to put the camera down and get that back in. But basically that is the circuit here, which is the heated seat, and that only has power when you turn the ignition on in the car. So that will give you just 12 volts to your wideband whenever you have the car on. So that's going to be what you want. Alright, and then the only last thing was the ground, which you can see here I just added a ring terminal on that bolt there and got my ground from there and just ran that up for the gauge. So pretty simple, pretty straightforward, not too bad for an install. This is one piece that I don't particularly like very well, is this gauge pod. I like the location, but the gauge pod itself is really crappy. It's a cheap plastic. The paint really doesn't match the dash trim at all. I mean, you can kind of see that. It's like way off. And the other thing is the shape of it is not cut out very well at all. I had to do a little trimming to even get it to remotely fit. But I mean, like, look at the gap here. Like, it doesn't follow the line. It's okay around here a little bit, but sticks out kind of far. And I just adhered it with some double-sided tape. And another thing to mention is I did not drill out anything in the top of this gauge cluster here, which it recommends drilling a hole to run your wires through. I was able to tuck the wires back under here and not have to drill a hole. So if you don't want to drill a hole in your car, you don't have to, even though that's what the instructions say you have to do. You can tuck the wires back, it's fine. And obviously the fitment is still okay. It's a little tight, but it's going to work. And then if you do decide to remove this later on, you're not going to have a hole just sticking out here. So that was obviously my concern, was, well, I don't want to have to buy a whole new gauge piece if I do remove this or decide to move it. Maybe I want it on the A-pillar, because I didn't know exactly at the time, like, was I going to like this position or not. So I really do like the position. I like where the gauge sits. I just don't like this pod specifically. I think it's made by SLP. I honestly forget, but for $100, the quality of this thing is just not there. So I might look at another option, another brand, but this is what I ended up ordering. So yeah, there it is. That's the wideband setup for the C6 Z06. I would imagine this works on a C6 base or Grand Sport also. I think the gauges inside and the trim line and everything is the same. So that's the interior setup. We'll go ahead and show you on the laptop how that integrates in. Alright, so if you just pull up your HP tuners here, we'll shift over and go to a scan file. So I'll pull up this log file I did over the weekend. And you'll see here, EQ number 1, that's the wideband. So basically that's in my channels over here. You'll see wideband EQ ratio, that's what it's reading out. And then your equivalence ratio, that's your commanded AFR what it wants to be. So it wants to be lambda, which is 1, and we're feeding back that it's 0.98. So we're pretty close. Obviously a teeny bit rich, but that's with that's at idle, and then like here's some part throttle cruising, 60 miles an hour, 1900 RPM. It's actually it's dead on. It's reading 1, lambda 1, and equivalence is 1. So as far as the setup goes for that, it's just like the old one where you add a channel and then you picked your wideband from the drop down. This one came right up. It was the AEM wideband. You select it, and then boom, it's right in your channels. And then you could just change what you want your units. If you like to use AFR, like 14.7 for gas stoic, or if you want to use lambda, which is what I use. So that's pretty much the setup right there. So this was just a quick video I wanted to do because I actually ended up ordering a different wideband, an AEM, same exact gauge and everything like that, but it didn't have the integration to do data logging. So I ended up getting it and then finding out this wasn't the one that was compatible, and what options did HP Tuners have at the time for compatibility with data logging. There was really nothing available, and then I stumbled upon that one, so I sent the other gauge back and then got this one in and then was able to set it up no problem, and now I can data log with it. So for anyone that's using the new MPVI2 HP Tuner unit and you're looking for wideband integration to do data logging, then this is the one you want to get. I mean, I think it's really the only option out there right now. So maybe stuff will come out further down the line. Different guys will do the CAN bus OBD2 integration, but for right now, this is your best option, and it's worked really well. It's synced right up. I didn't have any issues with having to do anything other than select it from the channels menu, and then boom, it was right there. It read accurately, it displayed exactly what was on the wideband, reflected right into the log, so I didn't have to change any values or units or anything like that. So highly recommended. You saw before in there I listed the part number, so you can go check that out. I got it off Amazon. I think it was like 180 bucks, but totally worth it that you can just plug it in and boom, it does the integration right for your data logging. So that's all I wanted to do for tonight's video. So stay tuned probably for the next one. I'm going to do more wide open throttle tuning. I got the fuel trims dialed in pretty good for part throttle. It's staying right around lambda 1 for all kind of part throttle cruising, but I got to work on when I come into PE mode, getting the fuel trims dialed in for that. So I might look at renting some dyno time at a local shop here in Pompano. So see if I could get like an hour block on the dyno to play around with doing some PE, because it's kind of dangerous to do it out on the road. You got to put the car in 4th gear, so it's 1-to-1, and then you're kind of running it from like 3,000 RPM. You're supposed to run it up to red line to get the full data, but I mean, once you hit like 4,500 RPMs, you're already over like 100, 110 miles an hour. So not really good for that. I think we're going to go to the dyno for doing that and dialing it in. And that way you can kind of, you do a pass, data log, review the log, and then make your changes, and then boom, you're right back into another pull. You don't have to like pull off to the side of the road or get off the highway and then make changes in the laptop and then pull back on the road. And so thanks again for watching, checking this video out. Leave any questions you have in the comments for the wideband setup or anything like that, and stay tuned for the next video.